Namandab, 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 namandab.
Good morning. Welcome and thank you for your presence to those of you attending in person, as well as to those of you zooming in on today's Dharma Family Hybrid service. I am Harrison Kaneko, and I will serve as your MC this morning. For those of you here at the temple, you may chant and sing while keeping your masks on. As a reminder to those of you on Zoom, please mute your mics during the entire service unless you have a speaking part. There should be a diagonal slash across the mic icon. Assisting Rev Blayne at the temple with technical support are Alan Matsumoto, Darren and Lynn Katayama, and Russell Nishihara. Joey Guzman and Stephen Kaneko are also part of the Zoom crew. Corrine Chong is our organist, and Betty Takeoka will lead the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana, led by Rev Blayne. Again, those of you on Zoom, be sure you have muted your mics. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Rev Blayne. Namandab, 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 namandab. Please remain standing for an aspiration which will be shared by Manami Alspa.
Good morning. So this is a little something from one of my favorite books called The Five People You Meet in Heaven. which may not be very Buddhist, but that's okay. So it's written by Mitch Albom, and it goes, "There are no random acts. We are all connected. You can no more separate one life from another than you can separate a breeze from the wind."
Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Mana. Please be seated. It is now time for offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us now observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandab, 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 namandab.
Reverend Blayne will now lead us in chanting the sutra, verses reaffirming the vows, or English Juseji. Words can be found on page 117 in the Jodo Shinshu service book and on the screen.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Ju-Seige, or verses reaffirming the vows, is a poetic summary of the basic intention of the 48 vows made by Amida Buddha to attain supreme enlightenment, to save all who are suffering, and to declare universal salvation through the name Namo Amida Butsu. We chant the words of the Buddha from the larger Pure Land Sutra as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken all beings. The verses reaffirming the vows. I have made unrivaled vows and will reach the highest path if I fail in any way. May I not attain Buddhahood. Should I not provide to all for countless kalpas to come, aid in times of suffering? May I not attain Buddhahood. I will reach enlightenment, but unless my Buddha name resounds throughout the universe, may I not attain Buddhahood. I will practice the noble path, wisely, mindfully, free of greed. Seek to reach the supreme way, be a guide to one and all. May my power shine great light to illumine and dispel the darkness of the three poisons and save all from suffering. With eyes of wisdom I'll remove the darkness of ignorance. I will close all evil paths, open gates of highest good. When I attain Buddhahood, light will shine throughout all lands, light brighter than sun and moon, outshining all heavenly lights, giving my virtues to all, not forsaking anyone. I will proclaim the Dharma like the roar of a great lion, bowing before all Buddhas, steadfastly gaining virtues, with wisdom fulfilling my vows. I shall be a guide to all, like the wisdom of my teacher. May my wisdom also shine all throughout the universe and illumine one and all. If I shall fulfill these vows, may all lands tremble with joy. From the heavens wondrous flowers rain down upon all the land. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandav, 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 namandav.
Please rise for singing of the Gatha, A Special Place. The words can be found on the handouts and on the screen.
There is a square upon the floor, an island in a sea, a place I visit every week, a spot that's just for me. When I sit upon that square, I leave my cares outside. All anger is forgotten. The Dharma is my guide. There is a special something here. It's something you can see. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. Amida stands inside the shrine, a smile upon his face. I smile right back, I'm glad to be here in this special place. Now there's time to sit and think of all that I can do to care for those around me each day the whole week through. This is a home to gentle thoughts when sitting quietly. For kindness lives within this place, it lives inside of me. It lives inside of me.
You may be seated. Reverend Blayne will now share a Dharma message.
Let me try that again. Hi, good morning. So, many people these days feel stuck, right? Whether mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or even sometimes physically, right? There seems to be a sense of weariness over the way life has been one continuous series of challenges over the past several years. It often seems like we have been riding the same out-of-control roller coaster with no way of knowing if it will ever slow down. The story that we've been living has conditioned us to see life in a certain way and has resulted in us responding accordingly. Shakyamuni Buddha believed in the power of the human mind to create the world in which we live. The tales we weave about our lives guides all of our thoughts, our words, and our actions. As such, these stories we tell about ourselves can empower or disempower us and our ability to act. The current story of who we are limits our ability to see opportunities and our potential for meaningful transformation and change. In his book, Community, the Structure of Belonging, author Peter Block suggests that change is founded upon our ability to tell new stories about ourselves. We need to have a conversation that we have not had before, one that has the power to create something new in the world. This insight forces us to question the value of our stories, the positions we take, our love of the past, and our way of being in the world. He affirms the Buddha's timeless and hopeful wisdom, which is empowering and life-giving. In the August edition of the Buddhist Churches of America newsletter, The Wheel of Dharma, Bishop Marvin Harada shares a wonderful message about changing our perspective. In his message, he shares about a conversation between the Dalai Lama and the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He writes, "One of the highlights of the video to me was when Tutu asked a question to the Dalai Lama, saying, to paraphrase, 'You had to escape from your country, and your country was taken over. Monasteries were destroyed, and many people were killed by the Chinese military. Why are you not morose?' First, the Dalai Lama asked his translator what the word morose meant, and he was told it meant sad. The Dalai Lama said that he was sad, of course, but that in Buddhism, we have to shift our perspective. He said that because he was exiled, he has been given this opportunity to share the Dharma with the world in a way that he had never could have done if he had stayed in Tibet as a Dalai Lama. Instead of staying angry, bitter, and morose over the situation, he shifted his perspective to see the positive side of the situation and how much he had loved being able to share the Dharma with the world. Bishop Harada goes on to say, only the Dalai Lama can say something like that without having any sense of bitterness or anger. How wonderful to be able to shift one's perspective in that manner. Most of us cannot shift our perspective like that. Right? We stay in our state of bitterness and anger. We say things like, Why did this terrible thing have to happen to me? I didn't do anything to deserve this awful situation. Isn't that how we react to negative situations in our life? Don't we flounder, even choosing to stay in touch in such a state of anger and bitterness rather than finding something positive about the situation? Right? We all should be raising our hands, right? We all do this from time to time, right? Right? The glass is half empty or half full. Which is it? It all depends on our perspective, right? The glass is there, always. And it's always half full, it's always half empty. But each moment, it can be half full. Each moment, it could be half empty, right? The power of our mind and our perception and our perspective to be able to affect the world and our living. There's an ancient fable from China or Tibet which helps to illustrate this power of perspective. It goes like this. Long ago, in a country where the mountains are among the world's loftiest, there lived an old farmer and his son. The boy spent his days attending to the work of the farm and their one horse, a beautiful white stallion. After years of careful training, the horse ran swifter and smoother than any other in the region. But one day, father and son awoke to find their cherished animal missing. The son was heartbroken. Neighbors gathered around the two and lamented their great loss. But the father gazed calmly past the villagers to the surrounding high peaks. "We shall see," he said. "We shall see if this is good or if this is bad." After a week, the magnificent horse returned, followed by an equally fine wild mare. Father and son soon tamed the new animal. This time, the neighbors praised the old man's remarkable luck. He was now the wealthiest man in town. He owned the two very best horses, but the farmer simply smiled and remarked, "Oh, of course, I'm pleased. But who knows if this is lucky or unlucky?" And so it came to pass that one day, while racing the splendid horses across the field, the son fell off and broke both his legs. While the boy's wounds were cleaned and splinted by the doctor, the villagers bemoaned the family's terrible misfortune. But the father, calm as ever, took comfort in his boy. "He is alive. That is all that counts," replied the old man. "His legs will heal in time. I cannot know if these injuries will turn out to be something good or something bad." The very next week, a battalion of soldiers marched into the village. A war to the north was underway, and all young men of fighting age were needed immediately. Mothers and fathers gathered food and warm clothing for their boys. With sorrowful goodbyes, they reluctantly let their sons join the soldiers. But alas, there was one boy in the village left behind in his bed, for it was obvious his wounds would take months to heal. The neighbors envied the father's good fortune. Of all the young men in town, his son was the only one not taken to war. The old farmer looked across his field at the two fine horses grazing. He looked at the lovely way the sun caught the tops of the jagged peaks in the distance, smiled, and said nothing at all. It's true, right? Few of us can be like the old farmer or the Dalai Lama. However, they illustrate the power of changing our perspectives. They remind us of the inherent potential and possibility that are within our reach if we can only realize them by shifting our perspective. In the way they respond to life's challenges, we can see they have a deep and profound confidence in the working of the Dharma, which enables them to live with a clear-eyed equanimity. The Dharma helps us to remain stable and balanced when life is so turbulent and chaotic. We can manage and handle anything that happens to us with confidence and grace. When we feel so worn down by life's challenges, we often find it difficult to envision anything different, a different world. We are stuck in a narrative rut which disempowers our ability to change. Shinran Shonin, right, our founder, found himself in a spiritual doldrum from which he saw no way out. He was stuck. Living with the old story of who he was limited his ability to see the dynamic working of wisdom and compassion in his life. Only by shifting his perspective was he finally able to experience the embrace of Amida Buddha's compassionate vow, which radically transformed his life. Shinran shares his appreciation for this new and profoundly hopeful story of spiritual awakening in one of his poems. He says, "My eyes, being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet the great compassion, without tiring, illumines me always." Holding on so tightly to the old story defining his life kept Shinran stuck and unable to change and to see any hope for the future. Only by letting go of the story of who he thought he was empowered his ability to live authentically within a new life-giving story enabled through Amida's light of wisdom and compassion. Back in June, I had the fortune to attend the 2022 Future of American Buddhism Conference in New York. In a presentation on shared leadership, Dr. Renato Almanzor of the East Bay Meditation Center discussed a process of change focusing on awareness, acceptance, and action. Awareness, acceptance, and action. At the heart of this process is how we have loving and compassionate conversations grounded in the Dharma, right? These difficult conversations with ourselves, with others, right? In having these often difficult conversations, we become aware of how we currently are, and we discover who we need to become. When we come to understand who we are and what our capacity for change is, and then we can skillfully act from this knowledge. This process he shares is a practical way of shifting our perspective, which enables us to begin telling and living new stories in our lives. Both Shakyamuni Buddha and Shinran Shonin began living new, remarkable stories by shifting their perspective. By embracing change, they were able to become the great teachers we revere today. Their stories of awakening and liberation are life-giving, and they have become our stories too. The Buddha believed awakening was accessible to all, regardless of one's station in life. Shinran believed Amida's compassion embraces everyone equally and is the reason for our birth in the Pure Land. These powerful new stories, they began living, transformed people's lives and the world in which they lived. This is the same power we have within us to transform our suffering into something more, something different. The Buddha's fundamental truth of impermanence and change is not only about the sadness of loss, but also the joy of possibility. Right? Impermanence means that all things change. Even when we think we're the most stuck, that is not forever, right? We are never truly stuck in life, even though we may feel like it. The truth of impermanence enables us to live with the potential for transformation and change every moment of our lives. We are so fortunate to have this limitless potential within us. So, how does clinging to the old stories we tell about ourselves limit our ability to perceive our challenges as opportunities, of seeing the light that grasps us and never abandons? How does our pride and our ego keep us trapped within a life-limiting and disempowering narrative or story of who we think we are? Only when we surrender our old story can we transform spiritual hopelessness and despair into an empowered and hopeful life of awakening. This is the true and real life of being born in the Pure Land that Shinran taught. Please join me in Gasho, and let's recite the Buddha's honored name in gratitude, joy, and awareness. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you for your message, Reverend Blayne. Since today is Mana's last Sunday service before she heads off to college in Japan, we are making maximum use of her presence. She will lead us in unison reading of the Golden Chain of Love. Words can be found on the laminated handouts in the back of the pews and on the screen. Please join Mana in reciting the words out loud.
I am a link in the middle of the golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will try bright and strong. I will be to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace.
Thank you, Mana. We will now have the offertory presentation. Please stand as we will conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
You may be seated. This concludes today's service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of online services and events. Reverend Blayne sent out a Kona Honganji weekly update email on Friday, August 19th. Please check your email and be sure to read it for a schedule of upcoming services, useful information on a variety of issues, reminders, and virtual links for a host of online Buddhist education events and seminars. Included also are important hurricane preparedness and COVID vaccination information with links to many useful websites. Please also take the time to open and read the many attachments to his email. Please pay particular attention to the attachments related to our 125th anniversary celebration, which will include the souvenir booklet, the time capsule project, and affirmation rites. From the month of September, we will resume conducting services most every Sunday with a few exceptions. Due to COVID, services were reduced to 2 or 3 services per month for the past 2.5 years or so. Prior to this year, most of the services were via Zoom only, and we gradually transitioned to hybrid services as well as conditions improved. We thank you for your cooperation and patience as we navigated throughout this period, keeping the safety of our Sangha first and foremost in our minds. On that note, the next hybrid Dharma family service will be held on Sunday, September 4th at 10 a.m. Mahalo for supporting our annual chili fundraiser. Please turn in your donation or any unused tickets to the temple office as soon as possible, even if the deadline was August 15th. Extra tickets are still available. Don't forget to redeem your chili tickets at Sandy's Drive-In from August 30th to September 16th between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Tuesday through Saturday. Reminders. Free COVID test kits are still available in the conference room. Also, 125th anniversary insulated grocery bags, cookbooks, and clocks are available for purchase. Lastly, today is picture taking for various groups and affiliate organizations of Kona Honganji. These pictures will be included in the 125th anniversary souvenir booklet. So if you're a member of any of the organizations, please remain seated in the temple until your group is called for picture taking, after which please go to the conference room for refreshments. Also, the new carpet for the temple will be installed from tomorrow. Therefore, any and all help is requested to move the pews and other furniture and equipment to one side of the temple. We will do this after you have enjoyed your refreshments this morning. Your help will be greatly appreciated. Mahalo. Is there any other announcements, Reverend Blayne or anyone else?
So this is Mana's last service with us before she heads off to college. Mana, best wishes. And visit us often as you can. So, yeah.
Oh, maybe I get tall today. I stand on here. Sorry I was late. I just came from Hololoa, and I don't know if you've heard, but the Hololoa theater just burned down right next to our temple. So and that's why Mimi and Jules are not here. Thanks to Jules with the hose and his fire extinguisher, he saved the temple site. Right now, it's still smoldering. I have some pictures that I took, but it's totally destroyed. But there's a part of it that's very close to our temple side that if that thing collapses, it'll fall on our side. So they're gonna push it down. So yeah, you can't, if you go to Hololoa, you can't pass the parking area. They have it blocked. So it's, thank you to Jules and Mimi for quick action, and they kind of saved everything. The place smells smoky and it's still smoldering, but we're okay. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? To those of you on Zoom, our apologies, but there will be no talk story time this morning since the equipment needs to be unplugged and moved as mentioned earlier. Please just tap or click on the Leave Meeting button on your screen. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the conference room. Mahalo to Lynn Katayama and Lisa Siriaco for providing the goodies today. Again, members of organizations, please remain in the temple until your group is called for picture taking. Furniture moving will occur after refreshments. Thank you for joining us and hope to see you at our next Sunday service.
Thanks, Harrison. Good job.